Have you ever been taken up the with a 9-inch? Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Well, if you're new, if you're a previous subscriber, welcome back. If you're new, just welcome. Right, for those of you who don't know, I was a courier and I've just made the transition into HGV driving, and I'm doing this channel as a trucker's vlog. So, today I'm going to do what I promised was going to be a semi-regular feature of the channel back when I was doing couriering, and there's no reason why I can't do it now while I'm doing an HGV driving, because I still listen to audiobooks, and that is to do an audiobook review. Right, so today I am reviewing The Running Grave by Robert Galbraith, and so what I'm going to do is, this is the latest book in the series, and it's, do you know what, I don't even know how many books there are in the series. Hang on a minute. It don't matter. Right, so anyway, so first what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of a review of the series in general. I'm going to talk about this book in particular, specifically. Going to talk a little bit about the author, because you have to, and in this case, and then I'll give a little bit of where I personally would like to see things go in the series. Right, so the series, do you know what? You know, let's get things straight. Let's talk about the author. All right. Now, yeah, I'm just gonna say it because everybody knows, right? That's the pseudonym for J.K. Rowling. All right, it's a pen name, and it's quite obvious why she used a pen name for this series. I mean, you know, she's enjoyed a little bit of success with another, like, children's series. You might be familiar with it, right? And if any of those young readers who read, because it is a children's series, you know, if they Googled the author, which is not an uncommon thing to do, at like 12 or 13, if she used her own name with this series, they would have come across this series and they might have read it. And this series is not age appropriate for children. Okay, there is, you know, the F-bomb, C-bomb gets dropped quite often. It's, you know what people always say. I see on Facebook and everything like that about these heartwarming sort of quotes of J.K. Rowling's, and they are awesome. They're brilliant. I love them all. But my own personal favourite quote by J.K. Rowling after reading this series is, have you ever been taken up the with a 9-inch cock? That's in there. That is in the series. I'm not going to tell you which book it is. A little Easter egg for you. Go and find it. But I was listening to that as I had to pull over. Oh, I creased up when I heard that. But there we go. So yeah, the series is not appropriate for children, and people who read the Potter series might come across this if she used it. So it's quite obvious why she used another pen name. Right. So there's that one. Right. So J.K. Rowling, I love her to bits. I ain't gonna lie. She's right. I said in one of my previous videos that I had a medical condition way back when. Do you know what? I'm just gonna tell you, right? I had leukemia back in 2007, right? And when I was diagnosed, one of my big concerns is that I would not make it to the release of The Deathly Hallows, which was coming out a few months later. So I'm not going to say J.K. Rowling's work saved my life. I'm not going to say that, but I'm not going to not say it. All right, okay. The Macmillan nurses and doctors did their bit, I suppose, right? But yeah, so I absolutely love J.K. Rowling. I won't have anything said against her. Right, so she's the author of this book and this series, and after the Potter series, this is a very good, sort of adult sort of series and stuff. I don't think this one's going to get a theme park, if I'm being totally honest with you, this series. But, I live in hope. So anyway, that's the author. That's my admiration for her. Let's talk about the series. Right. So the series is, I think it's 7. I think it's 8, 7. It doesn't matter. But right. So the series basically it concerns the main protagonist is a private detective, which. All right, okay, I'll grant you that's not an entirely unique premise in literature, but and I was quite skeptical when I started to read it because I was worried it was going to be very cliche, very noir, and things like that. But it's not. It really isn't. So, like I say, the main protagonist, Cormoran Strike, is a private detective, and he has a sort of a protege. Sort of comes in the first novel. It starts off as his secretary, but sort of progresses, and is sort of by the end of the series in this current book, she's definitely on. Well, it's not just this book. A few books back, so they are like a partnership. I think those are the two main protagonists really throughout the series, and they both have really like deep backstories and things like that. They arc well through the series. They have like the inter character like relationships are they arc well through the series and things like that. And those are the two main protagonists, but they by this stage there are a few more, because like I say, there's been quite a few books now, and there's a few more like of this. The agency has a few more sort of main reoccurring characters now. Pat, everybody loves Pat. If anybody's watching this video who's read some of the series, they'll know what I'm talking about. But she's brilliant, and they've got like regular sort of other characters in there other than the two main protagonists now. So, and the series has got what we got in there? We've got a high profile case. We've got a serial killer case. We've got a cold case. We've got a sort of online digital case sort of thing, which is the book just before this one, which is sort of modern in the 21st century, I suppose, in the 20s we're in now. So it's quite a mixed bag in the series. So it's a really good series. I would definitely give it a read. I was just about to say give it a watch, because the series has been adapted, for anybody who doesn't know, onto BBC. It's like a mini series. It's not movies. It's each book is sort of a mini series with Tom Burke and Holiday Granger. So they are handsome people, and they do really well in there as well in the TV series. And J.K. Rowling is a producer on the TV series as well. So go and check that out as well if you're going to read the series and read the book and things like that. Right, so now we're talking about this book, the latest book in the series, The Running Grave. Okay, so the book it is I've only listened to the audiobook. I haven't read the physical book. So I know I don't think right, weigh in on this down in the comments, right? Is listening to an audiobook the same as actually reading a physical book? I've heard people say yes, I've heard people say no. No, it's not. I don't think it's the same. But comments. Yeah, brilliant. Right. So this audiobook, like all the books in the series, is read by Robert Glenister, who is a very talented British actor. He's actually in one of the series of the TV adaptation. So, you know, and he does really, really well or narrate in this series. He plays all the characters really well. He, you know, does the voices. He adjusts well for, like, as I said in my previous book review, that I don't like it if the narrator doesn't sort of change sort of his pitch and tempo and things to reflect the mood of a scene. I don't really like it. But Robert Glenister does it really, really well in the series. So for narration of the audiobook, brilliant. Right, so now we'll get into sort of like what's going on in the book. So as spoiler free as possible, just a general sort of what's going on, because I don't want to give spoilers away. Right, so the whole sort of premise starts with it's a cult, right? There's a family has their a relative in this cult. They can't make contact with him. They're desperate to see their relative, and they just can't make contact because they feel like he's being shielded by this cult, and they're not letting him sort of contact his family and things like that. And so they approach our team, sort of our protagonist predominantly, to sort of, you know, for help. And it's all about Robin. I didn't say that. Yeah, the protege that I mentioned earlier, her name is Robin. Right, and so between them, they managed to infiltrate this sort of cult, and it's all about finding out what happened to not only finding out what happens to this relative of their client, but it also, like, it gets a bit deeper as to what goes on in this cult and the history of this cult, and, you know, where things have gone and where they've come from and what's happening. So that's basically the premise, and it's the I suppose the main theme, I would say, this is my interpretation, is that the main theme is sort of dealing with, sort of looking at how individuals can be sort of manipulated and controlled by charisma, and how easy it is. And I would say that's sort of the main theme that this book sort of deals with. So So anyway, so yeah, so that's sort of what's going on in the book, and I hopefully I don't think I've given anything major like gives aways there, but that's what's going on. For those of you who are familiar with the series, have read the books um, thus far, I feel like Strike and Robin's relationship is uh, getting closer, and they're starting to understand each other a lot more, and they're having to have a lot more respect for each other's, not respect, understanding of each other's flaws, and respect for each other's individuality, if you get what I mean. So yeah, so there's that. This book deals with um, sort of really deepen the characters now in this book. I feel as a bit more backstory with some of the side characters, like Lucy, Strike's sister. We get a little bit more information on her past. We find out a bit more about Pat in this one. Yeah, we have. I'm not going to give any names away, but there is one character, regular reoccurring character throughout the series, and a sort of relationship that definitely comes to a definitive end in this book. And anybody who's read the book will probably know which one I'm talking about. But I have to say, I'm more than happy that this particular relationship has come to a decisive and definitive end, because I was starting to get wound up with it reading through the series. But there we go. So brilliant. Right. So now, where I would personally like to see the series going from here on in. Okay. I think that first of all, I like them to go international for a start. Not America. Everyone goes to America. They'll go to America. Canada maybe, but something Europe or somewhere just international. A case that takes them outside the borders of the UK and outside of sort of their comfort zone in their jurisdictions. Even though they're a private sector, they don't really have jurisdictions, but out of their comfort zone, sort of something like that. So I would like to see something like that happen. There was an incident in I do believe it was Lethal White, where I'm talking now about Robin's character. There was an incident in Lethal White when it was towards the end of the book, and Strike had got there, figured it out what was going on, and him and Robin were driving in their Land Rover to wherever they were going, and he was to sort of prove Strike's theory, to find some evidence to prove Strike's theory, and he was sort of implying to Robin that he'd figured it out, he knows what's happened and everything like that, and she's trying to get out of him, what happened, and he's like, think, sort of thing. And I thought, first of all, that was really condescending from his point of view, and really, I can understand why it was, but why he did it in book, but it sort of annoyed me. And I thought at the time reading that, I felt like, do you know what? Throughout the series, I would like to get to the Robin to get to the point where that switches on its head, where Robin gets there before Strike, you know, where she figures it out before he does, sort of thing, and the penny drops, and I want to see her do sort of the allocution bit at the end where she's like, right, this is what happened, sort of thing, and because not because I want anything to like become like the student becomes the master or something like that, or nothing so convoluted as that, but just to prove that Robin's character has come full circle, and she is. I mean, she's for the last few novels now. She has clearly been a talented detective in her own right, but I'd like to just, you know, just to, like I say, just for the character to come full circle, and to sort of get back at Rob Cormoran for that incident that I'm thinking of, because I did think that was a bit, all right, you're being a bit of a twat, right? Right. So yeah, I'd like that to happen. Where else? What else would I like to see from the series? I think they could do with a reoccurring villain, like a nemesis, like a Moriarty type character. One of the characters, right? You might be thinking one of the characters from a previous novel, from Career of Evil, fits that description as being a nemesis because of their fixation on Strike. But that character, that if you've read the series, you know which character I'm talking about. He sort of had a fixation on Strike, true enough, but he was deluded. He had something wrong with his brain, you know. I'm not talking about that sort of character. I mean somebody who's on Strike and Robin's sort of level of intelligence and has the ability to beat them, you know, and maybe does beat them in one novel, like I say, a reoccurring character, you know. And yeah, on that note, that's the other thing I would like to see from the series. They have to lose. Strike and Robin have to lose at least once. It happened to all the great detectives, all right? All the great detectives in literature were all beat at least once, right? If I'm wrong, give me an example in the comments, right? All the great detectives that I'm aware of in literature were all beaten at least once. All right, the protagonist might have figured out what happened, but the villain gets away, all right? You know, like I say, they have to lose at least once. Yeah, no, right. So I think that covers the sort of the series and the book itself. I didn't really say what I felt about the latest book. I gave you a synopsis of it, but I felt it was very, 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 very good. Right? It was very long, but not due to unnecessary padding, which is really annoying in books when I'm reading and somebody just goes off on a tangent explaining like 2 or 3 pages explaining about a completely benign character or something like that. No, there's none of that in this story. You know, it's long, but it's necessarily long. So there's that. I thought the book was very, very good. Excellent book. Excellent narration by Robert Glenister. J.K. Rowling smashed it out of the park again. And I can't wait for the next book in the series. So, here we go. Right, so I'm going to give this book, in general, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Very few books will ever get a 10. If you're saying how how much I love the book, but I'm not giving it a 10. Very few books will ever get a 10 out of me. All right. All right. I don't think, um, thinking back of all the books I've read, and I have read thousands, um, I don't think I would ever give a 10. If I gave a 10 to a book, you'd think I'd remember it. So, no, um, I think the best any book could probably hope for out of me is a 9 out of 10. But this is definitely a 9. I would recommend the book, recommend the series, recommend watching the TV series. Definitely, it's J.K. Rowling at her best, and you know, it's definitely a fair series of novels after the potty Potter Harry Potter series. Like I say, don't think this was going to get a theme park, but it might do. I hold out hope. You know, if it carries on going the way it gets, you know, it might just. But anyway, so 9 out of 10. Robert Glinster, brilliant. J.K. Rowling, brilliant. Highly recommend the series. Okay. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. All that good stuff. Comments. All you know how YouTube works. I say it every video. Do your thing, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.